massage therapists. My name is Krista Dix. I'm a registered massage therapist in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and I'm also a certified Stott Pilates instructor. I've been teaching Pilates for almost as long as I've been a massage therapist, which is almost 16 years now. And what I really love about Pilates is that it is very simple yet effective. So when you really find those core stabilizing muscles, it really improves everything else that you do throughout your day. So I want to demonstrate some foundational exercises in this first video that's just going to show you basically the essential principles of Pilates so that you can move better and that you can understand how the foundation exercises all come together into exercises later on in the programming. So I really hope that you enjoy the getting to know Pilates part. And if you have any questions, if you need modifications, Pilates is wonderful because it is for everybody. And never feel like just because I say there's a modification, you're still going to feel the benefit of the exercise 100%. And I really hope that you enjoy feeling it in your own body. And I hope that you can also feel how you can bring this into your massage practice, both for yourself while you're working, and then also how you can give some of these exercises to your client, and they will just really start to notice differences in their day-to-day as well. Thanks so much for checking out this video, and I look forward to helping you out along the way. We're going to get started with breathing. And as I said earlier, it is one of the most important things that you can do for your body. So if at the end of this, all you take away is how to breathe a little bit better, then that is definitely okay with me. Now, in this position for breathing, we're going to start seated. I'm going to bolster myself up a little bit more. I tight, hips, and it just helps. We like to start everything off in Pilates in a tension-free position. So we're going to just start off simply cross-legged, and everybody's going to feel a little bit different. If cross-legged is not comfortable for you, you can have your legs straight out or bent, or you can be kneeling. We're also going to take a little bit of sensory awareness to the rib cage by placing our hands on the ribs. So again, this, if it's not comfortable for you, if you feel like your shoulders are up around your ears, then just sort of find a way that you can adapt, maybe hug around. That one actually feels pretty good, but we're going to start here. So as you're sitting here, we're just going to take a nice deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. So don't worry about what the ribs are doing, what the hands are doing right now. Just take that deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. It's weird to look at me. You want to just go inward, then feel free to close your eyes. Nice inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. So bring some awareness now to your hands against your rib cage as you're taking the nice deep breath in through the nose. I want you to feel those ribs press against the hands, and your hands sort of spread away from your midline just a little bit. That's an inhale, and then your exhale is going to bring them back together. We're emptying the lungs. We're going to close down the ribs. Inhale. Create that expansion between the ribs, intercostals. Rib cage is spreading out as the lungs expand. That was your inhale, exhale, close. We're going to do two more, nice and deep. In through the nose and out through the mouth. Now, of course, we will notice the shoulders raised near the end of the breath, but we ideally don't want them to be breathing in, like feel that motion too soon, right? So take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Feel that expansion through the ribs, east and west, out to the side, and back in. So that's typically our breath pattern throughout the exercises. Nice inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, There's multiple reasons why we do that. I won't bog you down right now, but I'm happy to get into it if you're curious after this session. Let's move on to the second exercise. It's called imprint and release. It helps to mobilize the low back as well as the as pelvic movement. And so if you find that you yourself might be stuck in sort of an anterior tilt or posterior tilt, these exercises help to bring you back to a neutral. I myself am usually in the lordosis. Even with all the years of Pilates, it is getting so much better. But I still find myself in that position. When we're going to lie on our backs, we're going to go into supine position. I like to put a cushion underneath my head, and I would encourage you to do the same if you feel that once you get your head back, you feel like you're more in some extension. The head is going back, and maybe the chest is popping, the ribs are popping forward. So let me give you an example of what I look like without the bolstering support. So I'm going to have my knees bent, and at this point, we're going to bring our heels in line with our sit bones. And so you can kind of see it's not bad, but, my rib cage does flare up a little bit. A natural curve in the lumbar spine is encouraged, but I do sort of go back. So I'm going to start off with my small cushion, and it just brings a little bit more of lift and relaxation to the body. Again, we don't want any tension in the body before we begin the exercise. We want to start from a nice neutral position. We don't want to be forcing ourselves through tension just to get into the exercise. So here we go with the actual exercise. Again, for some sensory awareness, it's always nice to just get your hands on your own body and feel what's happening. So if you would like to, I'd like you to make a little triangle with your fingers, thumbs together, tips of the first fingers together here. You're going to take the heels of your hands and place them on the front of your hip bones. And then the fingertips are going to go down towards the pubic bone. So what you want is a nice flat triangle parallel to the floor in the ceiling. If you look at your triangle and you notice that it's tipped up a little bit, and you want to just sort of adjust to bring that more to a neutral, a nice parallel position. If you feel like it's tilted down towards the feet a little bit more arch through that low back, try to tilt it back and bring it more to a neutral position. Now, while we're going through this exercise, we're going to be trying to focus on the obliques to bring awareness into the core. What might happen is you might feel some glute, like push and pull, and you might also feel like your feet want to move as well. I'm not going to be too picky about how you feel the motion as we move forward, but we will sort of refine it as we go. So let's get those hands in position here so you can feel that motion. Let's go just through a rock, nice and easy. Flying around here, I get it, but that is the nature of how I teach. So hold on. We're going to just rock that pelvis. So no matter how you move it in those two extremes. You're going more into that posterior tilt, and then you're moving into an anterior tilt. See how that feels on the low back. See how that feels through the sacrum. And just notice the different positioning of the hand there as you tip your triangle towards the ceiling and you press it down towards the floor. So let's come halfway between those two big ranges. And now we should be in a neutral position. On an inhale, we're just going to hang out here. But on the exhale, we're going to bring that low back gently towards the mat. We're engaging the obliques to bring the ribs and the hips close together. This is an exhale. So you may feel like you're in a little bit of an anterior tilt, and that's okay. We're going to hang out here in the inhale to hold, create some endurance. Working on that transverse abdominis, obliques as well. And then we're going to exhale back to neutral. Just be mindful, if your natural position is to go more into that anterior tilt, your body will just force itself there. Come back to neutral, inhale, breathing in through the sides of the ribs, in through the nose, and exhale, imprinting that spine. So you're melting that low back towards the mat. Depending on the curvature of somebody's lumbar spine, you might not touch the mat, and that's okay. That's one of the flaws as I yammer on here. Inhale, exhale to release. That's one of the flaws that I see in some of the group Pilates classes, is that the cue can often be like push your low back into the mat or into the floor. And some people, it's just not going to happen. But if we encourage that melting, that motion, then then we're allowing that movement for everybody. We're going to inhale, exhale to imprint the spine. So this bringing the low back towards the mat by engaging and shortening the distance between the ribs and the hips is what we call imprint. We would inhale to hold to create that endurance, and then exhale to bring it back. Change the hand position. I'm going to place my fingertips, like my first and second fingertips, on my hips. My thumbs are going to go underneath the bottom rib approximately. Taking that breath in through the nose again, still on imprint. Exhale to imprint that spine. So now your low back and is coming towards the mat, but I want you to also feel that shortening of the ribs and the hips. Inhale, and then exhale, release back to neutral. You might be moving a lot and you might not be moving very much. That's okay. The goal is just to put that mind in the movement. Inhale, exhale, bringing that low back, melting it towards the mat by bringing the ribs and the hips closer together using the obliques, shortening that distance. Hold on the inhale. And exhale to release. So we like to go into imprint because a lot of us are in that anterior tilt. Imprint is more stabilizing in Pilates as well when we bring both of the feet off of the mat when we're in an open kinetic chain. But we move through life in a neutral position. We need a natural curve in our lumbar spine. So let's practice maintaining some stability through our pelvis in neutral. We're going to place our hands down by our side. Inhale here to prepare. Stay in that neutral zone. Lift the right leg into a tabletop position. And I want you to notice any shifting, rocking, quick, if you had to like brace yourself and then lift that foot off, try to just float it off the floor. Inhale. And exhale, lower that leg, lower it from the hip all the way back down. Stay in that neutral. Inhale. Exhale, lift the left leg. I'm going to peel the foot off of the mat to help me move without changing the pelvis. Imagine that you have a nice hot bowl of soup on your pelvis and you don't want to tip it. Inhale here to stay. And your exhale will be to lower you down. And even in that position, your abdominals kick in to help you to stay supported. We're going to do that one more time on each side. Inhale. Stay in that neutral position. Exhale, lift. Right leg into tabletop. Inhale, stay. And exhale to lower back down. Hang out in that neutral. I have a tendency, I'm in an anterior tilt, so I need to keep checking on it. Inhale, exhale, lift the left leg. Tabletop, knee over the hip as much as you can, ankle roughly in line with that knee. Inhale, and exhale to lower back down. We're going to try the imprint position and then we'll move on. So we're going to inhale here. Exhale, you're going to lift the right leg into tabletop, just staying in that neutral. We don't need to go into imprint just yet. We're in a closed kinetic chain with one foot on the floor. As you go into that imprint, then we're going to lift this other leg off, squeezing the knees together. So imprint, both legs off the mat. Inhale, stay. Nice stabilizing position here. And exhale, just gradually bring one foot down, then the other. Release back to neutral. We're going to do that one more time so you can feel that imprint with the legs in the air. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, we're going to start with the left leg, just changing it up. Left leg lifting into tabletop. Start to imprint that spine. Use the exhale to help you lift the second leg up. Squeeze the knees together. Hold on the inhale. And exhale. Just slowly release one leg, then the other, and make sure you come back to your neutral. Another way that we're going to help to stabilize the pelvis or bring awareness to the pelvis and the core stability is by doing a hip release exercise. The really great thing about Pilates, I mean, some of the exercises do look so simple from the surface, but when you really put your mind in the muscle and the movement, you really notice the benefits of the exercise and how it can benefit you in your day to day life as well. So we're going to start with both of the knees bent, feet firm on the floor. Pelvis is going to stay in neutral. If you need that reminder as you move through the exercise, feel free to put your little triangle on top of the pelvis here. The exercise goal is to help to stabilize the pelvis. As I said earlier, we're going to take an exhale to gently drop this left knee out. So I hope you can see that I'm just dropping the left knee out. My right knee is still staying bent and in its original position. Now, this is where things can sometimes go wrong because I say drop the knee out and you just sort of drop and let gravity drop it all the way down. Your pelvis goes all wonky. So it's great for a stretch. It's great to check on that range of motion. How are things feeling? But the goal is like stability and strength here. So let's take a little reset. Inhale to prepare. Use the exhale to drop the knee out only as far as you can control that pelvis. So that's why I said having the hands here may be beneficial. Feel like your right posterior superior iliac spine, that right posterior hip is grounded, magnetic to the mat. The next part of this is that you're going to extend this leg out. It's slightly turned out. Okay, so we're not out on an angle, but we've sort of released it straight out, but turned open from the hip. So we're in a slight external rotation. And then from here, we're going to go back. So the knee is going to be facing the ceiling. So we're rotating inwards, but not going into a full internal rotation. And then we're going to drag this leg back in. And you're going to feel just that little bit of core stability working here. We're going to go on to the right side. So the right side, we're going to drop that knee out. I say drop, I should say like release slowly with control. Lengthen out that right leg. Right. So if it's a little bit sticky, you can hover the foot off of the floor, but ideally you're just kind of using the floor for support. You're open in a slight external rotation, and then you're going to bring it back to what I'm going to call neutral, the knee up towards the ceiling, and then you're going to drag that heel back in. We're going to do that one more time on each side. We're gently dropping the knee out, pressing it away. Sticky there. Rotating it in and bringing it back in. So I've been focusing on the motion. Let's focus on the breath. We're going to inhale to prepare, exhale, drop it out. Inhale to press it away. Exhale to draw it more parallel. And then inhale to drag it back in. The reverse can also happen. You started with an inhale to drop the leg out, and that is totally fine. So I hope you can feel that isolation as well. You want this motion to come from the hip, the opening of the hip. And we'll go through it one more time just so I can describe that. We'll go back to that left leg, release that left knee out. So you want to feel this isolation, this motion happening from the lower body. You don't want to feel your back helping you out here to press that leg away. It's very common with people who have stiff low backs. They lack the mobility. This is one of those separating exercises to help us become more aware of where we hold that tension. So we're going to bring it back to neutral, drag it back in. Also notice it is common for me, again, that anterior tilt will take over to help me, right? My body wants to kind of show off a little bit. So if I can extend that leg, here is where it should be. This is our aligned position, our neutral position. But maybe my body will go, yeah, but you could go a little bit further if we kick in that low back. No, we don't want to do that. We want to bring it back to neutral. I'm going to rotate that leg and draw it back in. Awesome. After hip release, we're going to do a nice spinal rotation. So we're going to release the low back while we're simultaneously bringing awareness and strength to the obliques. The knees are still bent. We're going to bring the feet right together, and our arms are going to go nice and wide at the side. So also, I just kind of caught myself in the view there.
I've got some like quite hardcore extension happening here through the ribs and a little bit of flare. So I want to also demonstrate how can I maybe improve that just a little bit more, right? So anytime you experience that excess stretch, you really just want to elevate yourself, but feel that you're supported because then you're guaranteed to sort of feel the stretch and the strength where you need it. Opening up the arms at the side, I'm going to turn my palms up. We're going to get a nice pec stretch. We're going to rotate through the spine. So we're going to just have the knees together, feet together. We're going to inhale and we're going to exhale because we're going to reset there. On the inhale, I'd like you to bring the legs over to one side. You will feel your opposite foot come off the mat just a little bit, right? You're just on the edge. I'm on the left side. I want to isolate that rotation through my lumbar spine. I want to keep my torso, my thoracic spine facing the ceiling as much as I can. I am tense, so that rib is pulling off of the mat. You can combat that by elevating yourself even more. And I encourage you to play around with that or let me know how I can help you out with that. So palms are up. We should be getting a nice stretch through the pec muscles here as well. And you can play with the level of your arms. Notice that I didn't drop my legs all the way over to the floor. If I do that, I sort of take out the rotation element and I basically just roll onto my side. I want to stay controlled through the obliques. We're going to inhale again here, and we're going to exhale using that core strength and stability to bring you back to the center. It's small, but it is very effective. Inhale here. Exhale. You're keeping those knees and feet together, and you're going to drop over to the other side. I'm going to keep trying to open up these shoulders, getting that nice pec stretch. Head for now is looking up at the ceiling. Inhale. Use the exhale to help assist you as you bring those obliques to engagement and bring everything back to center. We're going to add some head rotation here. So we're inhaling, exhaling, dropping the knees over to one side, keeping things a little bit simple as the description says. But I think you can see where you can increase this exercise as your mobility improves or as you want to challenge yourself. But I encourage you to stay here, stick with the foundation. It's important to get it right in this position. So what did I say? We were going to do some head rotation before I stammered on there. So you want to either rotate your head, you can go the opposite way that your knees are going, and that's fine. Or you can also experiment with how it feels to go the opposite or the same way as the knees. Your knees are going left, your torso is staying rotated towards the ceiling, and now your head is going left as well. Just do what feels good for you, and we'll bring it all the way back through the center. We don't normally hang out there. I think my descriptions are just getting too long. Inhale, and drop over to the side. Control through that motion. Nice reach. You can even make this quite active. You don't want to just be just bloppy here. You can reach those fingertips away. Feel more of that fascial stretch as you're twisted. I'm going to rotate my head to the opposite side of where my knees went, and that pulls a little bit more on my pec as well. So it certainly depends on your goals. I love this exercise as well to just help with mobility of the spine. Bringing everything back to the center when you find that next exhale. Amazing. Bring your knees in towards your chest. Give yourself a nice little hug. And a little bit of a low back stretch here. So right now we're a little bit of a massage and stretch on that low lumbar spine. Let the knees relax a little bit more. So now you're more on the back of your pelvis. And then maybe just do a little rock side to side. Right? So we're pretty used to pulling those knees all the way in, attacking that lumbar spine with a nice little self massage. But, think about all those attachments at the back of the pelvis as well. So after our supine spinal rotation, we're going to go onto all fours. So what's really lovely about Pilates is that it really tries to get you in all ranges of motion and in all positions. You're on your hands, you're on your back, you're on your stomach, you're on your side, standing, seated, all of it. So I really encourage you to, if an exercise is not feeling good in one position, there's probably a way that we can do it in another. But it just also encourages that motion that we never get stagnant in sort of maybe just forwards or backwards motion either, or standing or sitting, which is what we do most of the day. So we're going to go onto all fours. Okay, hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips as much as we can. Spread out those fingers, right? Really see how this feels. Spread the palms of the hands into the mat. We're going to bring the knees underneath the hips, and then I'm going to try to relax to a neutral. You sort of see how it's a little bit rounded and tucked there. So I'm going to try to bring this into a neutral position. We're going to do a cat stretch. So we have some similarities to yoga, but we're not going to go through into full extension. So stick with me. We start off looking down at the mat. We're in a neutral position, right? So even when we were on our back, it's the same sensation. We're just now on all fours. Another little thing we can do here is rotate those elbow creases forward, stabilizing the shoulders, and you're pushing away from your mat. Inhale here to prepare. Exhale, feel that pelvis press towards the hands, dropping the head. Inhale to stay. And exhale, release through the pelvis, thinking about pressing those sit bones towards the wall behind you and releasing each vertebrae through to neutral. So as I said, we're not going into an extended position here as would be normal in yoga. We're staying in neutral. We're stabilizing through the shoulders here as well. Scapular are against the rib cage as much as you can be. We're inhaling here in neutral. Exhaling to round through the spine. So I'm pressing my pelvis towards my hands. I want to get a nice stretch on that lumbar spine. I want to feel like my mid and upper back, those ribs, the spine are pressing up towards the ceiling. Inhale here. Think of those ribs expanding sideways, and then release through the pelvis all the way through. Depending on how you're feeling, your shoulders might be feeling a little bit tired already. So stick with me. We're going to do one more cat stretch, and then we're going to add on. Inhale. Exhale to round. So we're pressing that pelvis towards the hands. We're going to let the crown of the head fall towards the floor. You want it to be as if your brains are going to spill right out onto the floor. Inhale deeply into the sides of the ribs, pressing away from that mat. And exhale. Make sure we're not collapsing through the shoulders, right? We don't want to just sink down. We want to stay pressed away. I'm going to release back to my neutral. We're going to tuck the toes underneath, and we're going to turn on the abdominals a little bit more. So if this is comfortable for you, you're still on your hands and your knees. If you need a little break, go for it. To shake out the wrists, take a break on the knees. But from here, we're going to inhale here to prepare. Stay in that neutral position. I'm going to press into the balls of my feet and lift my knees just off of the floor. I also want to try to stay in neutral. So see how my tail is wagging out away from me instead of being tucked underneath. Holding on that inhale, exhale, bring it back down. We're going to do that 2 more times. So those lower abs should have kicked in for a little bit of energy. Inhale. Exhale, press into the feet so that your knees lift up. You're engaging through those lower abs. You shouldn't feel your bum lift high. You should just stay like there's a barbed wire right on top of you. Inhale, exhale, lower back down. Check in on those shoulders. If they are starting to feel a little bit weak, a little bit tired, just press away a little bit more. We're going to do that one more time. Inhale. Exhale, press into the hands, press away from the mat, release that tailbone. I could almost feel mine kind of wanting to tuck under, hold on the inhale. Exhale to release. We're going to go into a nice self stretch here. So think of it as child's pose like in yoga. You're going back towards your heels. Your arms are going to be out in front. You're stretching those shoulders. You can relax your head right down towards the floor. If your head doesn't touch, use a block or a pillow to bring the floor to you. Take a nice little break here. Now, I will also say this, just the small difference between shell stretch and a child's pose is that we actually still stay quite engaged, almost as if you're in that little bit of cat stretch in that low back. You're engaging through the abdominals here instead of just being flat and letting the belly hang. Both feel amazing. We're doing Pilates right now, so it is a shell stretch. Coming back to the mat, we're going to go onto your back and we're going to not have a cushion underneath your head. You want to come onto your back here. Knees are bent, your feet are firm on the floor, and your heels are in line with your sit bones. So again, we were all about alignment, right? How we want to move through our day is generally how we want to practice our exercise as well, no matter what we're doing. But Pilates is really aware of what our alignment is, and I really love that. So make sure you line up your heels in line with your sit bones, and maybe even if you can walk those heels closer towards the bum. You can use the tips of your fingers as like a marker to see how far in you can go. And if that's not available, then that's okay. We're starting off in neutral pelvis, neutral spine, and we're going to do some hip rolls. So these are really lovely to articulate the spine, get some mobility through the spine, and just a nice stretch. They're great for the glutes. Very common exercise that I'll talk you through, but don't get too far ahead of me because there might be some tweaks involved as well. Inhale here to prepare. Exhale, find that imprint first. So we really want to roll through that imprint, connecting each vertebrae to the mat. Then I'm going to push down into my feet, glutes are on, and I'm going to lift my hips up towards the ceiling. I want the energy of my knees to be going out over my toes. I want to make sure there's no hip creases, so I'm not low down here. I'm pressed up. The next piece is that I don't want to arch through my spine to get there. I want to keep my ribs in line with my hips. So there's a lot going on. Squeeze those glutes. Your hands are supporting you. Palms down. Even a little bit of pressure down into the floor helps to engage your shoulder blades, which we could all use, and open up the chest. Inhale, stay. Exhale, you're going to roll down through the spine. So start at the top of your spine. Find each vertebrae connect to the floor as you roll through all the way back to neutral. Inhale. Exhale, roll through that pelvis. So find that imprint, and then you lift the hips off of the floor. You're pressing down into the feet. Open through the shoulders. Push down to the floor with nice flat hands. Mind that you're not flaring your knees open and they're not collapsing in. I've got some modifications for that and props that can help hold. And then roll down through your spine. Hopefully your glutes are waking up a little bit here. I think as massage therapists, we have pretty decent glutes. Inhale and exhale, roll it up through the spine. All the way to lift here. We're going to change it up just a little bit. We're going to bring those hands up towards the ceiling. Okay, this can actually feel really nice. Feel how your shoulders drop down instead of sort of forcing them to try to open. Now we're going to reach the arms overhead. If they touch the floor, great. If they don't, that is also okay. I'm going to leave mine just hovering off the floor a little bit, because if I go too far back, then I'm going to arch my spine. There's a lot of tension through my front body. Holding my arms overhead and reaching these fingertips away, and I'm going to articulate down through the spine, one vertebrae at a time, back to neutral, and I'm going to lower my hands back down. Inhale here. Exhale, roll through the pelvis, pressing into the feet, lifting up, open through the hips. Reach the hands towards the ceiling, and then keep going overhead. Reach those fingertips away. I'm touching the wall. I would like a little bit more motion, but that's okay. reaching as I'm lowering my spine one vertebrae at a time, using that exhale to help me. I find this is a lovely stretch through the thoracic spine, and then I'm going to lower my hands back down. Awesome. Let's come up to a seated position. Changing the position of the body is always really important as well. You don't want to, do all of your exercises in one position. Although I will say that the really nice thing about Pilates is that you can pretty much be on the floor the entire time, still getting a workout. So we're going to do some scapular isolations. I actually may turn to the side for this, but you can stay facing me if that helps. I have elevated myself. I forgot to mention that. That's just normal. For me, I'm going to also cross my legs just to take out that tension from those hip flexors. Again, you don't want to be all cramped up and in here and then trying to facilitate another exercise. So let's come to a nice comfortable position. I've elevated. We're going to reach the arms forward here. I'm going to stack my shoulders on top of my hips as best as I can with the view that I have. And for scapular isolation, the goal is to move with the muscles around the scapula and not just shove the chest forward or move the shoulders. And it's really interesting to see how difficult it can be. So this is all obviously going to help us with our posture, going to help to reduce pain because we've stabilized in the right areas. Hands are about shoulder height here. My starting point is in neutral. So in order to find that neutral, I'm going to go to the two extremes. So I'm going to reach forward a little bit more, then I'm going to pull back. I'm reaching my fingertips forward, so I'm feeling that separation between the shoulder blades, and then I'm going to exhale to pull back. Okay, so I'm going into the two extremes, but I will rein it in. Pull. So find a point in between where you're in that neutral position. I do have a little bit of a winging scapula. I have anteriorly rotated shoulders. I am not immune to my career my career posture, unfortunately, even with Pilates. But I think it's a lot better because of Pilates. Finding that neutral position, we're going to start to reach those fingertips forward. You want to keep that upper body back, so you almost want to feel like you're pushing your like the bra line area towards the back as you're reaching those fingertips forward. Then isolating through the shoulder blades, just wrap the shoulder blades around towards the spine. An inhale is going to bring you forward, and exhale is going to bring you back. Inhale forward, and exhale back. So some of the things that you might be feeling right now is that your chest wants to pop forward. Try not to let that happen. Try to just let those shoulder blades glide around the rib cage towards the spine, but I don't want you to feel like you're pinching the spine either. This isn't a true like rowing exercise either. We're not trying to activate the rhomboids too much. We're just trying to actually more stimulate around the rotator cuff here. Pull back and reach forward. One more time, pulling back. So even this, it can start to tire out the shoulders quite quickly. But starting from that point, then you can also add on as the exercise needs to increase in intensity as well. So after our scapular isolations, we're going to move on to some arm circles on your side. So I know that it can feel like maybe there's like, this is like the warm up, but these are part of the exercise repertoire. And as we go through some of the bigger exercises, you will see how this all connects together. So we're going to start on your side. I'm going to grab my larger cushion because when I lie on my side, I want my head to be in a neutral position as best as I can. We're going to bring ourselves right down on the side. I'm going to bend my knees, but I'm not going to be I don't need to be at a full 90. I can be just underneath there. My feet can be stacked. And I want my hips to be stacked as well. So if you feel like you're a little bit back, I exaggerated there, but you know what I mean. So you want those hips to be nice and stacked here. We're going to reach these arms forward. I really like this one for range of motion. It is a great one to give clients as well if they're having some shoulder, tension. So reaching forward here, head is relaxed. Trying to bring the head in line with shoulders in line with the hips as well. Sorry if you don't have somebody there to guide you.
The, both of the hands are probably even, or the top hand is a little bit further back. So we're going to reach that top hand a little bit further forward. So think about that scapular isolation. Instead of rolling the body forward too much, just think about reaching that hand forward. We're going to keep those fingertips on the floor, reaching overhead. We're going to do a nice big circle. So we're getting a big stretch. We're going to follow that rotation with the torso. I'm trying to keep my hands on the floor as long as I can. I might run out of room here on the other side. And I also get too tense, so I need to lift my fingertips off the floor, but I want to keep imagining that I'm making that full circle behind me. My hands are going to scan the hip, and then I'm going to come back down in the front. I'm going to do that 2 more times in this direction, and then we're going to switch it up. So we're reaching forward, overhead. Allow that nice rotation through the torso. Stretch that hand away. Get a big stretch through the pecs. Stretch those hips if they drifted back. Bring it to the hips and bring it back to the center. One more time in this direction. Over. Also, take your time with it, right? Sometimes people like to rush through exercises because they think that getting them done faster is more important, than really feeling it out. So I encourage you to go slow. If you find something that you want to hang out and stretch even more, then go for it. I'm going to move on. We're going to reach forward. But it's the beauty of the pause button. We're going to come down towards the hip, reach towards the back. Allow your shoulder to rotate naturally here and reach those fingertips. This is also active, right? So I'm reaching the fingertips away from my body. So I'm getting that fascial stretch all the way through that forearm as well. Reaching overhead, bringing things back to the center. Maybe fingertips towards the floor if you can. And then bringing it back. We got 2 more times here. Add that breath, and you really start to notice, how that how the muscle tension, is so connected to the breath as well. Take that nice deep inhale. Feel the ribs expand. You might feel the pecs stretch a little bit more and lengthen. And on that exhale, you might think, well, this just things calm down a little bit. One more time around. So far, so good. But listen, guys, I'm not that amazing at counting when it comes to Pilates. So if I say, we're going to do a certain amount and I go over, then feel free to stop. If I go under, feel free to do more, of course. Turning onto that other side. Bringing yourself down. Supporting your head. Trying to line up the hips, the shoulder, the head, all the way through here. The hands are reaching forward, the knees are stacked, and we're going to reach that top hand a little bit forward. I'm going to go over my head first, reach and rotate, bringing this around. I'm going to run out of room on that side, bringing it down and down to the hip. Hope you can also see, obviously on your side, you're super supported, but this exercise can be done standing. You're just more of a modern dance move. My head is rotating with my spine. Oh, that was bad. Come down to the front. I think we've got one more this way. And rotate. See, it's just neat how the body will try to get away with things if you're not paying attention. 3 in the other direction. This time I'm going to try to keep my head looking forward. I just want to give you some variety. So I'm going to allow my torso to rotate back and my arm to open, but I'm going to keep my gaze looking forward. And I'm losing space back there, but you can keep your arm nice and straight. And I'm coming all the way back to the front. Got 2 more. Reaching around. Even though my arm and my torso are going back, I'm going to keep my hips and my head looking forward. Reach around. And here, one more time.
And it was inevitable that my earpiece would fall out. Tiny ears, bringing it back to the front. Amazing. You're still with me. Let's keep going with head nods. These ones are also amazing. We're into a seated position for us as therapists, for our posture, and they are also amazing for our clients. So we might also recognize them as cervical retraction. I'm going to add a little bit of an element to it that I want you to feel. If you love it, use it. If you do not, that's okay. And I just really like this little piece of it as well that we use in Pilates. So for your head nod, you're actually going to just use the gaze. So you're looking straight ahead on the horizon, and your eyeballs are just going to look down at your cheeks. Not a lot. It's just that's the motion. So instead of like jamming the chin down to the chest or looking straight down, we're just using the eyeballs to facilitate that cervical head nod on those first two vertebrae, and back up on the horizon is your gaze. Do that one more time, looking down. Realize I'm at the side, but I hope you can see the small head nod that's happening, super small. So now as we take that eye gaze down, we can give ourselves maybe a little bit more of a double chin. But also just notice if your shoulders just tense up and your chest flared up as well. Just so give yourself a bit of a double chin. And you're pressing back at the back of your head. And I also want you to feel like there's a string on the crown of your head, and you're lengthening through the spine as you're pushing back. And then we'll release back to neutral. So start off by gazing down at your cheeks. Find a little bit more into that double chin by pushing the head back. Might be helpful as well. Sometimes one of the ways that it can be taught is that you gently push on the chin. Notice how my ribs just like flared up, thinking that they can help. Push back and feel that length between the vertebrae as well. And then back to neutral. I'm going to do that one more time. Inhale. Exhale, look down at the cheeks. Find that double chin. Feel that beautiful length and stretch through the back of the neck. Push the head back. Drop the ribs. Relax the shoulders. Think about then the little string at the top of your head lengthening through the spine, back and up. And then release back to neutral. Maybe roll out the shoulders, rotate the head a few times there. Last little piece here before we throw it all together is elevation and depression of the shoulder blades, or the scapula. So we want to just concentrate on the scapula lifting up and down, not the shoulders. So if we go really into extreme here, well, we're going into the upper traps. We want to keep things small and just isolate through the scapula itself. So, excuse me, it might not look like much, but the palms are forward for this exercise. You're seated. I've bolstered myself up again just so I'm super relaxed through the hip flexors and I'm not all tight. So from here, we're just going to take an inhale, and you're just going to lift from the shoulder blades, from the scapula, right? So not too much. I want to feel that action happen around the scapula, and then I'm going to pull down. So I'm feeling an inferior angle, pull down towards my back pocket. Inhale, they just gently lift, and they're still nice and snug against the rib cage at the back. My shoulders are open. My palms are forward to help keep those shoulder blades against the rib cage, down towards the back pocket. Don't worry about like really forcing it down, but just feel like you're snuggling them down. Inhale to lift, and exhale to pull back down. Good. So you should feel a nice little engagement there through the underneath the shoulder blades, almost towards that lumbar spine, right? You're squeezing in there.
I hope you enjoyed learning about the foundational exercises of Pilates. So now you can move on to the second video, which is a few exercises. So you'll be able to feel how you can pull all of these foundational movements together into exercises that really help with your day-to-day movement. Again, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you. And if you'd like more Pilates, then I'm also open to chat.